Good afternoon and a very warm welcome on this very special day for the people of Bury and the people of Tottington. It's a very important occasion today, and as we get towards parts of the service where the citation's read, if you want to move closer together so you can hear, that might be very useful. Can I welcome everyone to this service of dedication this afternoon? Colonel Potts, Deputy Lord Lieutenant of Greater Manchester, our Mayor, welcome Mayor, our local MP. I'd also like to welcome Councillor Tarrick from the local authority. I'd also like to welcome and thank very, very much Danny Bolton, whose company, Water Engineering Systems, has been so generous and supportive of this whole project. Most especially, however, and above all, I'd like to welcome the families who are here representing today Rifleman George Stanley Peachment Victoria Cross, and also Captain Dubbs, whose life he saved. Members of those families have travelled here today from London and from various parts of Lancashire to be with us, and I'm delighted, especially above anyone else, to welcome them today to this service of dedication. We begin our service though with a word of greeting from the Office of Lord Ashcroft.
Statement from Lord Ashcroft, KCMG PC, on Private George Peachment VC for Sunday, September 25th, 2022.
Got onions on your burger, over. Yeah.
I have spent 4 decades championing bravery through my gallantry medal collections, my 7 books of courage, my lecturing on valour, and through my charitable causes. This is why I am always so thrilled when a community takes it upon itself to highlight the bravery of a local man or woman who has risked, or in many cases given, their life for the monarch, their country, their comrades, or for a wider freedom. I commend the people of Bury for the wonderful way in which they are today championing the courage of Private George Peachment VC. I have a special interest in his story, as I am the proud and humble custodian of the Peachment Medal Group, currently on display in the gallery bearing my name at the Imperial War Museum, London. In particular, I congratulate Padre Hugh Byrne, who has campaigned for more than a quarter of a century to have this young soldier's gallantry brought to a far wider audience. I know that many others have assisted the Padre in his work, including former army personnel, Paul Kerr and Owen Dykes, local councillors Yvonne Wright and Richard Gold, and finally Bury council worker Tracy Copeman. I commend all who have played a part in today's splendid achievements. Private George Peachment VC undoubtedly belongs to that rare category of men which I like to describe as the bravest of the brave. His sad death at the age of just 18 epitomises the virtues of courage and self-sacrifice. To quote from the Gospel according to St. John, chapter 15, verse 13, "Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends."
We sing our hymn, "Abide with me, fast falls the eventide." now please invite Barbara Crabtree to come forward to read our reading from Philippians.
A reading taken from the 4th chapter of the letter of St. Paul to the church in Philippi. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again I will say, rejoice. Let all men know your forbearance. The Lord is at hand. Have no anxiety about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which passes all understanding, will keep your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brethren, whatever is true, whatever is honourable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is gracious, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. What you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, do. And the God of peace will be with you. Here endeth the epistle.
I invite William Duggs now to come forward to read the citation.
This is a citation. If you can't hear me, can you put your hands up? And Vicar will take over because he's used to addressing congregations and I'm not, so I apologise for that. Okay, Rifleman George Stanley Peachment, Victoria Cross. For the most conspicuous bravery near Hullock on 25th September 1915, during very heavy fighting when our front line was compelled to retire in order to reorganise, Private Peachment, seeing his company commander, Captain Dubbs, lying wounded, crawled to assist him. The enemy's fire was intense, but though there was a shell hole quite close in which a few men had taken cover, Private Peachment never thought of saving himself. He knelt in the open by his officer and tried to help him, but while doing this, he was first wounded by a bomb and a minute later mortally wounded by a rifle bullet. He was one of the youngest men in his battalion and gave this splendid example of courage and self-sacrifice. George Stanley Peachment, at 18 years and 4 months, was the youngest army recipient of the VC in the First World War.
Hello, hello, hello.
I'll try not to shout, I must be running away. Right, okay. This is a letter written by my grandfather when he was actually convalescing after his wounds to Mrs. Peachment with all her condolences. Okay, so it says, "Dear Mrs. Peachment, I cannot tell you how sorry I was that your brave son was killed, but I hope it may be some little consolation to you to know how bravely he behaved and how he met his end. He was in my company from the day he joined the battalion, and all the time during the ordinary trench warfare he always did his duty well and was as good a rifleman as one could wish to have." Can everyone hear? Yes. Considering his age, it is wonderful and enormously to his credit that he stuck to his work and never gave up during all the hard time we had before this attack. When we had to make preparations for the attack, I made your son one of my orderlies because I thought that a more suitable job for a boy of his age than taking his place in his platoon for the attack. Also, I knew he was very keen and quick and would do the work well. In the attack on the morning of September the 25th, we were the leading battalion of our brigade. By the time we reached the Wire in front of the Germans' trenches, we had, I'm afraid, lost a good many men, but your son was still untouched and kept beside me. When we reached the Wire, we found it absolutely untouched by our artillery fire and an almost impassable obstacle as a result. However, we had to push on, and I gave the order to try and get through and over it. Your son followed me over the Wire and advanced with me to about 20 yards through it, till we were only about 15 yards from the German trenches. None of the other men of the line were able to get as far, and he was the only man with me. As a matter of fact, I had not noticed your son was with me, but at that point a bomb hit me in the eye, blowing it and part of my face away. I fell to the ground, and on sitting up found your son kneeling beside me. The German fire was at this time very intense, but your son was perfectly cool. He asked me for my field dressing and started bandaging my head, quite oblivious to the fire. His first thought was to help me, and though there was a shell hole close by where he might have got cover, he never thought of doing so. Of course, the Germans were bound to see us sitting up, and one of them threw a bomb which hit your son in the chest, while at the same time I received a bullet also in the chest. Your son was beyond feeling any pain, though still alive. I tried to drag him into the shell hole and at the same time keep him from moving, but at that moment a bullet hit him in the head, killing him. After his first wound, he was bound to die. In fact, he was already immediately after he received it unconscious to any pain. I lay beside him there all day, and eventually we were both picked up the late afternoon when the trench was taken by a flank attack. I cannot tell you how much I admire your son's bravery and pluck. He lost his life in trying to help me, and no man could have been braver than he was. It is hard that such men should have to die, and all I hope is that you may gain some little comfort to your sad loss in knowing what he did and how gallantly he behaved. I've recommended him for the VC, and I've heard that the commanding officer has sent on the recommendation. If he gets it, it is sad to think that he is not in this world to receive all the congratulations he would get. But perhaps it would be a comfort to you, whether it is granted or not, to know that he earned it and deserved it. You can indeed be proud of your son in a way that few people can be, and I only hope that it may be some comfort to you in your loss of him. If there's anything else I could ever do for you in any way, please contact me. I owe a lot to you as your son's mother. Your son died the finest death that man can die, and he showed me the greatest gallantry a man can show. And I hope that these facts may help you in your sad loss, together with the fact that he was spared all pain and suffering. Yours truly, J.R. Douglas.
When the right people turn up at the right time, wonderful things can happen. This event today is a very long time coming and waiting. I met Stan Peachment in Meadow Way 26 years ago, and I saw Rifleman Peachment's Victoria Cross and a picture of him. Several months later, I tripped over his bronze memorial in a building that unknowingly was being used as a door wedge. That was 26 years ago when the quest for this young man began. In 2015, we brought his decorations, which were loaned to us by Lord Ashcroft, back to Tottington, where they were marched under escort and laid upon the altar in St Anne's Church. Sometime later, the Peachment Silver Salver was created and awarded both to Army Cadets of the Greater Manchester Army Cadet Force and that salver is now in the possession of the cadets of Bury Grammar School. Like a constantly dripping tap, and with the support of Yvonne Wright, Peachment Place was named. Last year,